Alright, so today let's continue with our JSON Parser in C project. So last time we were able to finish up the lexing stage. I mean, since it's just a JSON, so it's plain text, we don't really have to overcomplicate stuff that much and do lexing and parsing and everything, but I think it's still a pretty good exercise to do. Usually you do lexing and all of that on a programming language, but I feel like it's pretty fun to do, so why not just do it for JSON? For example, if we run our lexer or tokenizer on example.json, we'll get back each token individually. So for example, opening curly brace, then we have the string name, which is like a key, then we have a colon, then another string John. We also parse some numbers and also escaped strings, which I mean, much easier than last time we did the escaped strings for the programming language, because this one you just have to take it as it is. For a programming language, you would have to interpret each character, so instead of having a backslash double quote, it's just a double quote, and the same thing for new lines and everything, so much easier when you have plain text like JSON. And yeah, like we finished the lexer, so today I was thinking to start on the parser itself, so trying to build a data structure for our JSON parser, because right now we can just echo stuff into our program and yeah, it finds the tokens, but we don't have like a structure. So everything is a valid JSON string for us right now. So we have to add some kind of rules with these tokens, right? We have to figure out some rules for our token. So I guess I should put it below the lexer. So yeah, my idea now is building this AST data structure. So let's type def structure, and I guess type def structure AST, or I guess JSON object. Maybe that makes sense. JSON object. Right. So yeah, I mean, now you would think, okay, what is a JSON object? Well, maybe it would be easier if I call it JSON AST maybe. Because yeah, I mean, a JSON object is a mapping, right, from a key to another JSON object. But I said that I want to use our data structures. So for example, define yes hash map implementation and dynamic arrays, so DA. Right, so in here, instead of having that, how about we say that the root of a JSON can be either a hash map, like an object, or an array. Usually you have these two options with JSON. You have either an array of stuff, or you have like an object, right, which is a hash map. We can just say hash map. Right, we have these two options. So next thing, maybe yeah, that enum of saying which one it is, that's another thing. Okay, so let's also do type def enum. we'll have JSON kind, I guess. Or JSON object. I mean, maybe it's gonna be JSON object. JSON object. Object, that's funny. JSON object like string, JSON object number, JSON object boolean, right? We can have JSON object null, and then are the interesting ones like JSON object array and JSON object map. Let's call it map. Right, these are the only options. So yeah, why not just say that the JSON AST can be any of these? So maybe we have here a JSON object kind, obviously. Same structure like here for the JSON token, but compared to last time where we had the same stuff, so value and position, now we should build a union, right? And this one is similar to the one from Cool Compiler, if you remember. So in case we have a string, we might have like a pointer string, right? In case we have a number, we might have, I guess I'm gonna do float for the numbers. And have everything as a float. Then boolean is gonna be boolean. So I did a type def of int for boolean. Null is interesting. Null is not gonna be anything, so we can just ignore it. Then we have an array, ds dynamic array, and this one is gonna have JSON AST. So that's why I think maybe JSON object makes sense as the name. So it's gonna contain JSON objects, right? An array can contain anything. You in JSON, you don't have that restriction with everything must be a number. You can have numbers, strings, right? That's how I remember it. The JavaScript world. And then hash map, and the map is actually an array, right, of buckets, but we have a key and a value. So we can say maybe something like a char pointer and JSON object. Yeah, so we have this, maybe this looks more like a mapping, right? We have char star and JSON object. So that's how I would define this structure. We also have the kind, and I guess next step is to just do parse. Like for example, let's do something like I'm just thinking that would be really cool. Like we can do it in two ways. We can have the lexer and then build an array of tokens, or we can have the parser, and the parser has a lexer inside of it, and instead of building the array, we like lazily read each token. That's an interesting approach. I haven't done that yet, so let's try that approach, and let's see if it's more convenient or not, right? Because for the programming language, like a few months ago, I read all the tokens into a list, and then I used the parser to go through each token individually. But what if we don't build that list and we just use the lexer as an iterator? So, like in Python, when you have an iter and you call next on it, like something like that. Maybe that's gonna be more interesting. So we could build a data structure for the parser. So let's scroll here. And I mean, I'm just gonna copy this. I like to have, even if it's wrong, right, I like to have some stuff to look at it. So JSON parser, what if, see, JSON parser, what if we have JSON lexer in here, like that. All right, and sure, we can have like a flag, error flag, like in case we encounter an error, right? We can have different flags on the parser so we can recover from the errors, but I think I'm just gonna panic initially. Not in real life, but in game. I'm gonna panic if the parser encounters an error, right? The program just panics, throws the error, and if we feel like it, we can add some recovery from errors. But right now I'm not really sure how you would recover from an error. Like in a programming language, you can just go until semicolon and then try to continue from there. But yeah, with JSON, no idea. So let's do JSON parser init, and I think I want to get the lexer. Now the only question is, do I want this thing to be a pointer or a copy? Yeah, I'm not really sure. What would be the difference, right? What would be the difference if we have a pointer here or without a pointer? So let's first imagine we have a pointer, right? So instead of, like, first of all, the size of this structure will be, I guess it's gonna be 4 or 8 bytes depending on your architecture. Most probably it's gonna be 8 because we all have 64-bit computers nowadays. I don't think it's anyone left with 32-bit, but it is what it is. The size is gonna be what's the first thing that you notice. If you don't have the star, obviously the size of this structure is gonna be much larger because you'll have, like, it's the same thing as you would have all of these fields in here. Like, that's the idea. Then the other difference is honestly not existing in a weird way, because if you do a copy like this, these are integers, so you would just copy them, it's not a big deal, and this is a pointer, so you would also copy the pointer. But you have to be careful. You won't copy, like, you won't have two strings, you'll still have one string, but you have two pointers to that string. So yeah, that's the idea here. We would have two pointers to a single string, but if we do this, will actually have a pointer to the lexer. So it's still only one pointer here, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. Probably copy it by value, just so we don't overcomplicate our lives. Okay, so JSON parser init, then JSON parser free, and parser AST, parser parse, I guess. And we return the status code, and here we need to send the JSON object as a reference so we can modify it. Okay, so let's have the init. Init is just gonna set the lexer. Okay, return 0. Oh, no. Yeah. Okay. I wanted to see if I did like different stuff, but no. So I'm not gonna do that. Okay, then the next easy thing is free. Which in my opinion shouldn't do anything, because we free the lexer like this here. So yeah, I don't know, maybe you would imagine that you allocate some stuff in here, so you have to free it. So I don't think we need to free anything. And then we have parse, which is gonna be the interesting function. So, you know, now that we are done with lexing, we can just remove all of this stuff, kind of. Then have something like JSON parser equal to 0. Oh. Okay, so the argument parser is actually, let's call this one arg parser. So now we can just have the parser for ourselves. Just like that. I mean, sure, fair enough, we could have a separate function for parsing arguments. And maybe have something like static int argparse, and it's gonna take in argc, shell pointer argv, and then file name is gonna be a double pointer because we want to change it, and that's all. And then maybe we do something like this. So we have defer, return result, like that, and then here we have dereference it. Huh. Kinda makes sense, yeah. And we can free it there. So now we would do probably something like argparse, argc, argv, and finally. Well, now I don't have printf %s. Let's just make sure that we parse everything. Yeah. Okay. So it's gonna be more, the main function is gonna be smaller. Oh, that's good. I guess I can do something like, if it's not 0, fail to parse arguments, and then return it for 1. Perfect. So it's a bit smaller. You would have to add all the arguments in a list here, which kind of sucks. But I mean, you can also make a data structure and all of that crap, but let's not do that. It's a homework. If you want, you can make a PR and have a data structure here, and yeah, I mean, don't do that. It's fine. So we have Elixir init, then JSON Parser init, parser and Elixir, and then JSON Parser parse. And we'll have an object. So right, and I guess this one can fail. Fail to parse JSON. Okay, and then JSON parser free. I guess that should be everything. Right, so now inside of parse, let's just define our boilerplate. Wouldn't it be interesting if we can have like a macro? Imagine like an fn macro before a function which just adds these 3 lines. I don't know, just an idea. And then you can have defer in C, like in Zig or Golang, turning C into a high-level language. I mean, it is a high-level language, but okay, so what can we do in this case? I guess first step is to have a JSON token defined, and then we could Elixir next self this dot Elixir. I mean, we can have that if we call this one this or self, but yeah, parser Elixir, let's give it the address and then the token. All right, so we take, if this thing is not 0, could not get the next token, which is kind of unreachable. In my opinion. Yeah, in case you cannot allocate, I mean, buy more RAM. That's the classic. Okay, so Should we switch on token kind? I'd say probably not really, because we have only two cases that work. So if token kind is equal to JSON token else squarely, we know that we should parse an object, right? So something like JSON parser parse object, and then we pass further the parser. Oh my god, what am I doing? Parser and object, right? And probably return defer, like maybe it's gonna return an integer with status code. Kind of makes sense. And then the other case is opening angle bracket, like I don't know, square bracket. But there's also maybe just result is equal to else if token kind is equal to JSON token L brace. We have JSON parse array. Actually, let's call this one JSON parse map. And on the else case, let's just say dslog error expected map or array, but found right now we don't really have like a mapping, so from token to a string, right? That would be pretty cool, but for now let's just do token kind, and let's just say here to do add mapping from kind to string, right? Just so we can visualize better what the token kind was, and maybe also line and column plus show line and column. That would also be interesting. So maybe that's going to be a function on the lexer, right, to show, because right now we have the position, so we can show position, but you know, I always hate when a compiler or something like that shows you the character count instead of the line and column. Like, it's, but you know, at least it's something. Sometimes you don't even get that, but okay. So we return defer that because we only care about the first error. I say that, okay, let's not care about finding all the errors like in a programming language. In a programming language, you would want to recover from the error and try to find other errors if there are any, but for JSON, I mean, let's not care that much. Okay, and the last one is, let's check if so could not get the next token. That's like an issue with the memory. And now let's check if token kind is JSON token end of file. So we expect, well, if it's not, this log error, expected end of file, but found again should have that and return default 1. Okay, so yeah, now we just have to implement these two functions. Let's make them static. So static int JSON parser parse map should have the same signature as this one, and then array. Okay. Int result differ. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't be enough to have fn for differ, because in differ you also want to sometimes clean up stuff. So yeah, anyway, first thing first, object kind is gonna be object map, and in this case it's gonna be object array, right? We could do them in parallel, or we could do them one after the other. I don't really mind. Let's do array first though. Okay, so ds dynamic array init object arrow array. We initialize the array, and here I need to specify the size of the element. And if you remember, the element is a JSON object, right? Yeah, actually I don't remember how unions work. Do they take the maximum as the size, or do they do addition? I think it's the maximum. Yeah, should be maximum. Okay, so we initialize the array. Perfect, because we'll have multiple elements. So yeah, I guess that now the only issue, yeah, maybe I want parse to also be able to parse numbers or strings. Like I don't know, can you have into JQ, like can you have a string? Okay, so JSON can be a string. Perfect. Then yeah, here I was a bit wrong. Then else if token kind is JSON token string, we have to do something. I feel like I can do that actually here, like object kind is equal to object JSON object string, and object string is gonna be equal to token.value, right? Okay, fine, this should be a const. I feel like that's how you do it here. And then else if token kind, JSON token number, object kind is gonna be a number, but this is A to F, is gonna be interesting. So this is stdlib. I'd say here token dot value. A to F is double though. Let's do double. Then we have boolean, JSON token boolean. We'll do the same thing for booleans. And in here, well, I remember we keep true and false. Like that, okay. So maybe like let's do an oopsie doopsie string compare token dot value with true. And what if, can we have a const bool true is equal to 1? So if this is equal to 0, then true, else false. All right. Okay. And else if token dot kind is JSON token null, kind is JSON object null, and we don't really care about the other stuff. Nice. So yeah, we if we find L brace, we enter in that other function to search for the R brace. Squarely, same thing. Colon would be an error, comma would also be an error. Boolean, we handled it. Number, we handled that. String, null, EOF, we handle it. And illegal would be illegal. Right, so sure, would be cool in case we find illegal to also show the value, but that's inside of the to-do. So yeah, pretty nice here. We handle everything. So here we know should be an array, and we need the first item. How do we get the first item? Well, should call to parser parse, and here we need item, something like this, parser. Right, we need to parse an item. Then once we figure, actually if we find, so we need to call to actually we need to call to next. We actually we want to be able to pick the lexer, because right now we want to see if we find a closing or if we find something else. Yeah, that's why maybe this approach doesn't work. Because here we move forward. Actually, I mean, I should be able to implement a peek function. Let me just try it. So we'll have a peek, and the purpose of, yeah, but this is just peek character. Which is not even that cool. Peek ch. Okay. Right, so peek should do something like saving the state of Lexer, then calling to JSON Lexer next, JSON Lexer next, Lexer token, and then restoring the Lexer state. So let's just say unsigned position is equal to Lexer pos. I'm just gonna do pos, read pos, ch, right? Pos, read pos, ch. The other stuff doesn't really change, I think. So buffer length shouldn't change. Oh shit, JSON Lexer peek. Yeah, I guess it shouldn't change. Right, and then afterwards we just set position to pos, Lexer read pos to read position, and Lexer ch to ch. So that's the idea. Maybe it's gonna be fine like that. So yeah, something else that I was thinking now is, what if here we peek yeah, like what if we peek so that this stuff can validate that you are parsing a map or an array, but then you'd have to advance here, which kind of annoys me because you have to run the lexing twice. Yeah, I don't know. Is there a better way of doing this? Like, for example, I would have to do it here like that, do it here like that, right? So instead of actually advancing the Lexer, we would just peek. So we say, okay, let's take a look if like what's the next token, right? And if we find a map, you know, we call this function, we call this array function, and then for a string, we know, okay, we read the string, so we have to advance. Kind of hate it, but at the same time I like it because I want to check inside of parse map if the first token is squared, but it, doesn't make sense. Let's keep it with next, and it is what it is. These functions are static, so we don't call them anywhere else, right? It's not like a library, so should be good. Okay, let's go back to parser. So first thing, we need to be able to pick. So let's do JSON token is equal to 0. Right, like this is, we know this was called after opening brace, right? That's the point. So we pick and whatever error. Okay, now we can do a while loop. While token.kind is not JSON token rbrace. So while the token that we read is not a closing brace for the JSON array, we parse an item. So JSON object item. We parse an item. Obviously, if this returns an error, we have to stop. Could not parse array item. Okay, and this error can be a bit more abstract because probably we'll get a better error, for example, here, right? With a line and number. But it's also helpful to say, okay, it was an array item, so I know what to expect. I don't know. So here we parse the item. Now we have to do what exactly? So we parse the item and we have to check if we have a comma. So we need to call again this thing. Okay. We have to call it again. Whatever, could not get the next token. And now we have to kind of say something like if token.kind is not shit. So if we find an okay, so let's think about it. We know we started with an opening brace, right? So the next logical step is we'll have an item. Makes sense. Then we don't really pick, we next it. We go to the next token. If we find a comma, we go again. If we find an R brace, we stop here. But yeah, I wanted to copy the JSON logic. Like if you have you cannot have trailing commas, right, in JSON. I guess if I do something like if token kind is equal to JSON token rbrace and we break. So we stop because we found an R brace. And then if token kind is not equal to JSON token comma, we show an error. Expected a comma but found %d. Token kind. Right, that's the idea. And obviously, let's add a to do. I think that's how the JSON logic works. So first we check, like first we pick for an shit. So I'd say it's gonna be like this. First we pick, if it's not a JSON R brace, then we do this stuff. If it's a JSON R brace, then we need to do next. Okay, makes sense. We need to do next, otherwise. I mean, fair enough. Let's do something like this. If token kind is JSON token R brace, damn it. I wish it was possible to do it with only the while loop, but I don't think it is. Okay, but let's imagine no, because if it's a comma, we need to skip it. So I need to call next here. And that's annoying. Well, I could just return defer here, since that would be fine. So, okay, maybe it works with just a while loop, but it's kind of scuffed for my taste. So, because here we picked, we check that token. If it's not a closing bracket, then we can parse an item. Then we completely read the next thing. So like that. Then if it's a brace, then how about just exiting? And if it's a comma, we just continue, and at the end we can next it. Okay, let's do it like this. So if it's gonna be a brace immediately, that's the edge case of empty array. So let's just return the first 0. We found an empty array, that's fine. Then this thing should, like, could be a do while loop actually. It could be also no while. So while this thing is not that we read an item, we should probably add it this dynamic array append object array and item. Probably, yeah, hopefully this is gonna work. Let's say if this thing is not 0, would not add item to array. That's like an error. Okay, so then we do lexer next. If we find our brace, we can stop. And here, if it's not R brace or comma, then that's an issue. Okay, whatever, let's leave it like this and let's see if it's gonna work. So let's try to parse an array with our thingy. So how is it gonna work though? Let's make right, like it did something. Can I maybe do something like a switch? Would be easier if it's like a recursive print function for the AST. So let's just print f %d object dot kind, and we'll do a printing. So it's 0 because first thing was a string, right? We can probably have numbers in here, like 1.1. Then obviously the booleans, the null, I guess. And then what's going to be interesting is an array. 1, 2, 3. Shit. Expected end of file but found 5. Okay. Could not parse array item, so 335 happened here when we called to parse. Let's see printf. Oh, it actually already said that it's a 5, so token kind is gonna be 5. Right? No, it's 7. So we have a 7 type. We can actually see this is 0, 1, 2, 3, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What? Oh shit. No, it's fine because we pick. I know it's percentages item. Okay, item number. Let's do percentage f. fuck's sake. Not even the first one. I was like, okay, maybe the first one works actually. Printf %d. I mean, let's not go into 0 and 7. Oh yeah, because 0 it's an L brace and then the number. Makes sense. But then it's gonna come here in number. Printf %s token.value. Like, pretty sure this is gonna work. Like, it's gonna give us 1. Yeah. And then what's the issue? Oh, it's because I'm stupid. Let's not add these yet. Right. So we get a 4, and 4 is array. It's nice. Yeah, the issue is here we use the same function for both like parsing and parsing objects. So I would say that we need another function. Let's put it first, like this one. Parse object, which is like a JSON object, and we are gonna send maybe all of this stuff in there. Whoa. So in JSON parse object, I'd say we put all of that. Okay, and probably we need to define these functions somewhere, like even though they are static, we need to have them like this. So parse array as well. Right, so we just define them. Okay, and now in here I'm gonna do JSON parser parse object, and we send the parser and object, and now we can have all of that, and instead of JSON parse, instead of just JSON parse, let's do JSON parse object. That should fix that small issue. And yeah, right now we are able to parse arrays, at least, right? Like the logic seems fine to me. The only extra thing that I want to do is add a printing function, and probably for errors this mapping. So yeah, but I would say that I'm pretty happy with the results for today with building the AST. So let's try to finish up the map parsing and pretty printing next time.